Hey everyone, welcome back to MMO Madness Behind the Troll Mask. I'm your host, Boss Mode, here to guide you through the dark dungeons of MMO history, where trolls ran wild, guilds rose and fell, and sometimes the only law in town was whatever a bunch of players decided it was. Today we're going back, way back, before Discord bans, before auto-mute features, before community managers had ban hammers polished and ready to go. Back to a time when the only thing standing between order and chaos was, well, us, the players. This was the Wild West of online games. There were no moderators keeping things civil, no fancy reporting tools, no AI auto-detecting slurs in chat. If somebody stole your loot, harassed your healer, or griefed your guild, you didn't file a ticket, you didn't pray for a GM, you took justice into your own hands. And the systems we built, player-run blacklist, vigilante guilds, naming and shaming threads, full of in-game trials, they weren't just survival tools, they became the foundation of MMO culture. So tonight, we're diving into the messy, brilliant, and sometimes hilarious world of how gamers self-policed before mods existed. Hey, let's start at the beginning, the early days. I'm talking MUDs and Ultima Online, text-based worlds and janky graphics that looked like they had been coded in someone's garage. Well, because they had. Back then, if you wanted justice, you didn't have a moderator to ping. You had to be your own sheriff. Players formed militias, neighborhood watches, and sometimes full-blown guilds whose only mission was to patrol the server and keep griefers in check. And trust me, the stories that came out of those days are the stuff of MMO legend. In Ultima Online, griefing was a style. You could loot corpses, rob houses, murder people in the streets, and the devs just let it happen. One town, on one server, got so fed up that they created a sheriff's guild. Players literally role-played as guards and patrolled the city. If they caught a known griefer, they'd swarm him, kill him, loot his body, and then put his name on public wall of shame. Now, this wall wasn't official. It was literally a player-ran bulletin board posted outside a tavern, but everyone respected it. If your name was on the sheriff's wall, you were done. Nobody traded with you, nobody grouped with you, and guilds kicked you out on sight. The devs didn't design it, the players did, and it worked for a little while. Griefers actually thought twice before murdering noobs in that town because they knew the sheriff's guild would be waiting. Imagine logging in thinking you're about to ruin some newbie's day, and instead you get jumped by 6 guys in matching tabards shouting, "Justice for Britannia!" That was MMO policing in its purest form. Even earlier than Ultima, in the old text-based MUDs, players invented something brutal, the kill on sight list. These were basically spreadsheets of hated names. If you linja-nuded, scammed, or even trash-talked the wrong person, your name went on the KOS list. And once it was there, you couldn't log in without being hunted. Whole guilds cooperated to enforce these lists. You might log on thinking you're going to farm some mobs, and instead the entire zone descends on you like you're a world boss. The psychology was fascinating. There was no dev punishment system. The punishment was social exile. You weren't just fighting mobs anymore. You were fighting for your own reputation. And in some cases, that was way scarier than losing gear. So even in EverQuest, which had a bit more structures, players still had to handle things themselves. One server had a problem with train griefers. You know the type. The guy who pulls an entire dungeon's worth of mobs, runs past your group, and watches gleefully as you are steamrolled. So the community formed the Vigilantes, a loose alliance of guilds who kept a blacklist of known trainers. They'd warn new players in chat, hunt griefers down, and even launch counter-trains as revenge. One famous case, a griefer named Red Jack got so notorious for training people in Lower Guck that the Vigilantes organized a server-wide manhunt. Dozens of players hunted him for days. When they finally caught him, they trained him. They made his life hell until he rage quit the server entirely. That was the justice system. Eye for an eye, train for a train. That was early MMO justice. Brutal, messy, but effective. No mods, no GMs, just players saying, if you ruin my game, I'll ruin yours. And honestly, sometimes it worked better than any reporting tool we have today. But self-policing didn't stop at patrols and manhunts. Next up, we're diving into the most infamous weapon players invented, public shaming, naming, and shaming. And it was as effective as it was savage. If militias and vigilantes were the blunt instruments of early MMO justice, then naming and shaming was the scalpel. And trust me, players wielded it with precision of a surgeon and the cruelty of a playground bully. Back then, before moderators patrolled the forums, before Reddit mods locked threads, and the greatest weapon you had against a troll was their reputation, if someone ninja looted your raid, you told the world. If someone scammed you in trade chat, you shouted it out in every zone until your fingers cramped. And the beauty of it, word spread like wildfire. One post, one shout, one crude paint-drawn wanted poster, and that griefer went from menace to outcast overnight. One of the earliest and most infamous examples came from World of Warcraft. Players created entire forum threads dedicated to known ninja looters. It started small, a few names, some screenshots, a shady loot rolls, but soon it ballooned into community-run blacklist, dozens of names, entire guilds. Every time someone pulled a fast one, their guild got added. And once you were on the list, good luck ever getting into another raid. One guy tried to fight back. He made an alt and pretended to be someone else. But the community was relentless. Someone recognized his typing style and outed him. Back on the blacklist he went. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes people lied, and innocent players got dragged through the mud. But the absence of mods, this was justice, public, messy, and merciless. Over in RuneScape, players took it to a way different level. If you scammed someone in trade, they didn't just report you, they held court in trade chat. Picture it, the victim shouting, "Scammer! He stole all my armor." The accused shouting back, "Lies! I traded fair." And then 50 bystanders spamming their verdicts all in caps. It was chaos. It was hilarious. It was the MMO version of Judge Judy. And the best part? Sometimes the community actually enforced it. If the majority sided with the victim, the scammer got ostracized. Nobody traded with them again. Their name became a joke. That's the power of naming and shaming. No dev intervention, just raw social power. Naming and shaming was a great equalizer. You didn't need to be strong. You didn't need to be rich. All you needed was a voice. And in a world where reputation mattered more than loot, that was enough to bring down kings. But some players weren't satisfied with just yelling names in chat. They wanted order, structure, whole organizations dedicated to policing trolls. And that's where the vigilante guilds came in. Guilds weren't just about raiding and farming. Some of them made it their mission to hunt trolls, to act as server police. And while some of these guilds were noble, others, well, let's just say the line between vigilante and tyrant got blurred fast. On one WoW server, a guild literally called themselves the Bounty Hunters. Their motto? Justice for hire. If someone scammed you, griefed you, or camped your corpse, you could hire them, pay them gold, and they would make your problem go away. They kept lists of targets, they stalked trolls across zones, they even staged dramatic executions in Stormwind, killing griefers in public just to make a point. For a while, it worked. People respected them, even feared them. But then the corruption started. They stopped being heroes and started being bullies. They'd shake down innocent people, demand protection fees, and call it justice. Eventually, the whole server turned on them. The bounty hunters became the hunted. And just like that, the vigilantes became the villains. In ESO, one group of players formed patrols in Cyrodiil. They called themselves the Peacemakers. Their mission? Stop gank squads from ruining newbie experiences. They'd ride through the zone in full armor, banners flying, protecting lobies from high-level griefers. They became legends. But here's the twist. One of the Peacemakers turned out to also run a gank squad on his ult. By day, he was a savior. By night, he was a villain. When it came out, the betrayal shook the community. The Peacemakers disbanded. Their reputations shattered. That's the danger of vigilante justice. Without mods, without accountability, the heroes and the villains often turn out to be the same people, just wearing different masks. And that's what made vigilante guilds so fascinating. They were chaotic, messy, and sometimes just as toxic as the trolls they hunted. But in a world without mods, without report buttons, they were what we had. And sometimes that was enough. Next up, we're going to talk about the most dramatic form of player justice ever invented, in-game trials. Because if you thought bounty hunters were wild, wait until you hear about trolls getting dragged before entire taverns of role players to stand trial for their crimes. If you thought blacklists and bounty hunters were wild, wait until you hear about the communities that went full Judge Dredd. Because some players didn't just exile trolls, they put them on trial, in-game, with witnesses, juries, and sometimes even lawyers. Sounds ridiculous, right? But back in the Wild West of MMOs, this wasn't unusual. Without mods to enforce justice, players just built their own courtrooms. In Ultima Online, a guild once dragged a known house thief into a tavern for a public trial. The guildmaster acted as the judge, sitting on a bar stool like a throne. The victim gave testimony, role-playing every detail. "He snuck into my house while I was farming regents, Your Honor." The accused, who was very much guilty, defended himself with equally dramatic flair. "Nay, I was just inspecting the structural integrity of your chests." Dozens of players gathered to watch, spamming emotes, booing, cheering. In the end, the jury, made up of random tavern goers, declared him guilty. The sentence? They stripped him naked, paraded him through town, and executed him outside of the city gates. It wasn't just justice, it was theater, and everyone loved it, except the thief. Fast forward to Final Fantasy XIV, where role players took the trial idea to new heights. On Balmung, there was a guild dedicated to running in-character courts. They'd put griefers, scammers, or just unlucky troublemakers on trial in taverns. They had a judge in robes, lawyers delivering flowery speeches, bards playing dramatic music in the background. One infamous case involved a player accused of harassing our peers. The trial lasted 3 hours. Witnesses testified. The defendant gave impassioned pleas. The verdict? Guilty. They didn't ban him. They couldn't. But the social punishment was brutal. He became a meme. Screenshots of trial flooded discords. His character couldn't show his face anywhere without whispers of, "Hey, aren't you the guy who just got roasted in court?" That's the thing about community trials. They weren't legally binding, but they carried a weight heavier than any dev ban. They made you infamous. These trials were part justice, part entertainment. Were they fair? Not always. Were they effective? Absolutely, because in the end, trolls thrive on attention, and nothing flips the script faster than turning them into a clown in their own public spectacle. So what's the legacy of all this chaos? Did player justice actually work, or was it just a mob rule dressed up as entertainment? Honestly, it was both. On one hand, self-policing created toxic witch hunts. Innocent players sometimes got blacklisted, exiled, or humiliated for crimes they didn't commit. But on the other hand, it gave communities power. It taught us the reputation matters more than loot, that your name carries weight. And in a way, those early systems shaped the moderation tools we have today. In EverQuest, one player became infamous for training mobs into newbie zones. He got blacklisted, hunted, mocked endlessly. Months later, he came back under a new alt. But instead of trolling, he started helping people, buffing newbies, handing out gear, and even mentoring players through tough quests. Eventually, he admitted who he was, braced for the band hammer. But something strange happened. People forgave him. They decided he'd done his time. That's the legacy of self-policing. It wasn't just punishment, it was redemption. Trolls could come back if they proved themselves, and sometimes that was more powerful than a permanent ban. Modern MMOs don't need sheriff's guilds or tavern trials anymore. We've got report buttons, ban systems, moderators. But the DNA of self-policing is still there. Guild blacklists, community callouts, even Reddit threads dragging toxic players. It's all echoes of the systems we built ourselves long before the devs stepped in. The Wild West of MMOs may be gone, but its lessons still shape the games we play today. So, what did we learn tonight? We learned that before moderators, players were the cops, the judges, the executioners, and sometimes the comedians. We built blacklists, bounty guilds, and even full-blown trials to keep our chaos in check. Hey, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it was brutal. But it was ours. And maybe, just maybe, it was proof that MMOs aren't just games, they're societies. And like any society, when the rules break down, people will make their own. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Subscribe now to MMO Madness, Behind the Troll Mask, sponsored by Boss Mode Fashion, because even if your DPS is trash, your outfit doesn't have to be. Find your next respawn-ready outfit at bossmodefashion.com.
Got a grief story or a redemption arc worth sharing? Email me at podcast@mmomadness.com. Your tale might be featured in a future episode. Don't forget to like, share, and follow the podcast. Hey, this is Boss Mode out. Have a great day.
Go.